Okay, our beloveds, we wish to note that today is the 16th of September. It is not the 15th, nor is it the 17th. It is the 16th, which is a 7. We want you all to notice today how numbers matter. 7 is a holy number of divinity, if you will, a connection to the divine, because on 7, it is a holy day, similar to Sunday within the Christian tradition. Now, Sunday is the holy day of rest, where you subscribe to nothing other than the divine. So while Sunday may be holy in certain traditions, 7s are holy from a numerical or numerological tradition. So as you can probably hear from our voice today, it is a different series. We shared the other series, follow-up with our another, but she's uncertain whether she wishes to post it because she's just not certain. She'll need to transcribe. That is her process. She is in a state of distrust right now because much of what we are bringing her is challenging her beyond her comfort level. And so when we tell her all is well, in her body right now, it does not feel like all is well. So she is slowing down the process to make certain that her response to the stressors and triggers in life are controlled and measured. And so when we come through, she always has an uncertainty because, as you all are aware, there are beings of light and beings who do not reside within the light yet. And each do try to commune with her, and each do commune with her. And when she is a little bit more distressed, her sensors within her body are not as regulated or as calm, and therefore she has learned not to attach to anything that comes through until she is back in that state of peace and trust and relaxation. It is a journey for her to understand what somatic experiencing is all about, which is, interestingly enough, what our message was on yesterday as well. So we will offer it in a different form today. It is simply your body's feedback mechanism. When you have a headache, it is because that part of your brain is trying to alert you that there is an issue. It's mainly a warning signal of sorts. And so when you take a painkiller, it really does nothing to address the underlying issue, but it just numbs the pain. And this is oftentimes, though not always, what the pharmaceutical industry does. For example, an antibiotic actually does kill off the painful pustules, right? Because it kills off whatever is causing the infection. So that is a life-saving treatment. However, there are also negative consequences from taking the antibiotic because it will destroy your gut flora and will kill off everything in your body that was within its range. And so you will need to rebuild that immunology within your own system. But if it keeps you from dying in that moment or have excruciating pain, then oftentimes this is a well-born risk of using the antibiotic. Then there are others who are allergic to the antibiotic. So there's a question of risk and reward, because if you could potentially die of anaphylactic shock, well, then the risk is a little bit greater. So what we're trying to say is that the pharmaceutical industry is not all bad, nor is it all good. There is a business model which pushes it, much like your educational industry at this point. When you look at the high costs for your students to go to college, much of it goes to things that don't actually support real education. The question that we have for you is, when your students graduate with an undergraduate degree, what real skills do they have? They still need to be trained. So it doesn't mean that they don't learn how to critically think, that they don't learn to expand their ability to process information and seek it out and draft reports and things like that. But when you look at the cost involved, why is it so costly? Aren't there more cost-efficient ways of getting to that end product? Well, of course there are. But at this point, the universities, too, are a business model, and their goal is to extract as much money from you as they can because it lines their pockets. It's that simple. Everything is a business model. When you go to the grocery store, they charge as much as they can without affecting their ultimate bottom line by going beyond that point where people actually purchase less. So it is a dance. It is a fine dance of moving the products and setting the price and generating revenue and keeping the employees suppressed so that the employees don't get paid too much, so that much of the decision-making process and much of the profits goes to those few at the top. You are no longer in any way a democracy because you don't really give people a seat at the table. Look at the teachers now and how their ability to determine what is best suited for their students is also being restricted by policy decisions and by ideology. So all of these things, right? And this is where we're going now. All of these things are symptoms of a system that is broken. So when you have a headache, it tells you that your system is broken. When new political people are elected and say we're going to restrict the educational material because we don't like what's being taught, not because it's not truth, but because we just don't want to confuse people, instead of allowing people to really just opt for that which suits their needs best, within reason, obviously. So it's not like you want to have a KKK member come in and attempt to indoctrinate your children. That would be inappropriate, no doubt. But the point that we're getting at is when you restrict access to information, limit the processes that are available, and attempt to put Band-Aids on things rather than looking at the root cause, you get a broken educational system, whether it is the K through 12 or the college experiences. When you look at the medical industry, they are being restricted too by how they can perceive things based on what the pharmacological industry dictates. When you look at how doctors treat you, how they marginalize your own personal experiences because somehow they believe that they're smarter than you when you are within the somatic experience within your body. So this is our question for you today. So how is this working for you? You have been taught to suppress your actual inner emotions. The pharmaceutical industry has taught you to suppress your response system instead of digging in to figure out why the struggles exist. Your educational system now is trying to suppress how people learn and what they learn and why they learn. Because before it used to be to educate people. And now the educational system is designed to create you to be a cog in this huge beehive. The beehive is the pharmaceutical, it is the food, it is the educational, and it is the institutional system within which you are being contained. And when freedom of thought and freedom of expression are limited in all of its ways, humanity suffers. So why is it that your way is right and somebody else's is wrong? Maybe your way is right for you and somebody else's is right for them. If you believe whole hog in the pharmaceutical industry, but somebody else believes that the alternative medicine, which really is the indigenous way of healing, why is it that you're right and they're wrong? Their way has been around a lot longer than yours and kept people alive in a healthier way than the current pharmaceutical industry is. When you look at the educational system in the past, people were taught at home how to have some life skills, right? How to farm the land, how to can, how to create community. You all now are so divided and distanced from reality. You get your basic groceries at the store, you get your pharmaceuticals at the pharmacy. You no longer understand how the human body works and how this universe works. By being taught how to be a cog in a wheel, instead of being an individual, you have lost individually and collectively the way and the purpose of this human experiment. And many of you are so stuck in your headiness of it all because you are so convinced that you are right that you don't leave expression for anyone else who sees it differently than you. Have you raised children? Have you realized that your thought processes don't necessarily align with your children, and yet they somehow, more often than not, are successful in life? Well, if they can succeed with a belief system that is vastly different than yours, then why do you believe that you have the right to impose your belief system on others? We're going to go back to our original premise, which is my body, my choice. You know, you can feel what's right for you. And when somebody tries to come in with something that doesn't feel good, you know this is somatic experiencing. And when others tell you it doesn't feel right, honor that within themselves instead of continuing teaching them to suppress it. Your body is your compass. It is your biofeedback system. You shouldn't really need an electronic system that tells you what it is that your body is telling you at any given time. Become in tune with your own body by just being present with it. And the first thing that we would say is stop using all stimulants. Caffeine oftentimes overrides this because it jumbles your nervous response system. When you eat a lot of sugar or simple carbohydrates, which are converted into sugar, alcohol, nicotine, not tobacco, but nicotine. A lot of the, we're going to call them plant medicines, when taken to avoid reality versus to embrace it. Your intentions matter there. If you set an intention before you use plant medicine and say, please show me what it is that I am missing, instead of please numb this pain, you will have a vastly different experience. You will see how your feedback system responds to your queries. Become more attuned to your body. Cleanse it, so to speak, of all of the stimulants so that you can actually feel it because you're not numbing it or nervously exciting it to override something which your body is trying to tell you, which is that it is really tired, it is really overstimulated, and it just wants some rest for most of you. Becoming you is an incredibly important and yet difficult process. And we just encourage you all to be gentle with your body, gentle with your mind, gentle with your emotions, and gentle with your experiences. Just allow them to sit for a bit so you can feel them, instead of trying to manage them again in your mind by overriding it with logic. Logic does nothing to surrender what is hidden within your body, which is the trauma. And we continue to invite you in to somatically experience where the trauma resides, why it resides, and how it would like for you to resolve it or heal it. And that's it. And once you understand these processes, it's so much faster to get there because you will have created the neural pathways of what it feels like to be in trauma and how to heal it, how to work through it. Our another is learning this, which is why she is so much more regulated now. She can feel within her own body the first instance of the dysregulation coming upon her, and she recognizes it now. Doesn't try to suppress it. She acknowledges it, and then she says, give me a minute. I need to breathe through this, or whatever her response is. But the point being is, our another is learning to hone how to work with the feedback system that is within her body. And we encourage and invite you all to do the same, as it will make your journey back to health that much easier. But you, as always, must invite it in, unless your time capsule breaks open and we force you to join the surrender experiment journey, because you have resisted it for so long that it now must be forced upon you. And it's not a gentle way, and it just is. It's similar to you maintaining your car. If you don't get regular maintenance, it will tragically break down in a big ball of fire of sorts one day. And then you will have to figure out how to get from point A to point B without having that vehicle that you have relied upon. And it will be harder. It's not a punishment. It is just a natural consequence of failing to pay attention to the continual feedback that you get to maintain your vehicle, which is your body. And so it is. Namaste.